His thoughts on the current moment. Daniel Lacalle, welcome to our show. Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Now, former President Trump and others have warned that China is trying to displace the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. China, Russia, and other nations have recently made moves to reduce their use of the U.S. dollar. What's your take on it? Is this underway?
There certainly is some form of agreement between Russia, China, India, Brazil, possibly, to try to use more their local currency, their domestic currency, in their international transactions. And that is absolutely correct. But the likelihood of the US dollar losing its world reserve status is very, very far-fetched right now, even with these moves. These moves are marginal. In any case, we need to start from a very important premise, is that the Russian ruble, the Chinese yuan, are currencies that have capital controls. Therefore, it is very difficult for any currency, no, it's not very difficult, it is impossible for any currency that has capital controls to be a world reserve currency. Our viewers may understand it perfectly. If you don't know if you will be able to use your own funds the way you want them, any way you want them, at any time you want them, it's impossible that you decide to conduct your international transactions in such a currency. No? So that is one big caveat. The other big caveat is that to have a world reserve currency is not just a question of having a strong political will or some strong alliances. It is about having the confidence from local and international investors. And so far, at least, it is very difficult to believe that global international investors are going to want to originate foreign transactions, originate lending, finance global investments in Russian rubles or Chinese yuan, when, for example, the Chinese yuan is a perfectly fine currency, but it does not trade.
But the U.S. dollar's share in foreign reserves has been shrinking. So what do you think has set that in motion?
Well, the main reason why the share of dollars in foreign reserves has come down is fundamentally because we've seen a drop in the value of U.S. treasuries. But it's not just a drop in value of U.S. treasuries. It's been a drop in value of all sovereign bonds. The problem is that when you think about being the world reserve currency, you need to think about what is the alternative. And the alternative right now doesn't exist. The euro is a world reserve currency that has redenomination risk. Countries in the eurozone may, for some political reason that we don't know right now, may decide to break up the euro, and that obviously would create a massive financial turmoil. But ultimately, the reason why there is no alternative to the US dollar is because none of the alternatives have diversified, open, and free capital markets, because in times of difficulty, as you very well know, the US dollar becomes a safe haven, not because it's a coincidence, but because it's the most liquid. I always say that it is the house in a fire that has the largest numbers of windows and doors. So that is ultimately the reason why the US dollar is the world reserve currency.
Do you have any takeaways for our viewers who may be concerned about this issue?
If investors or citizens are worried about the US dollar being the world reserve currency, the first thing that citizens have to do is to show their confidence with their votes. Because if a government weakens the currency, as fiscal tool, i.e. printing money constantly to finance large deficits, that is going to end up putting the dollar at risk. But if they want to defend themselves from the weakening of purchasing power of a currency, then you always have gold and certainly some of the alternatives that are not in the fiat world, like Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you so much. Daniel Lacalle, Chief Economist for Tressis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.